Well, a lot of people got arrested over that. Rondo number 9 got 39 years for murder. C-Day got 38 years. That was the whole taxi driver murder situation. D-Rose got 40 years for murder. And they're saying that D-Rose didn't actually do it.
Yeah, the theory is that the murder that D-Rose went down for was actually committed by I think it was it C-Day? All right. Yeah. This is my researcher. He knows it. With me and him, we're locked in. So anything I'm unsure about, he's gonna fill me in. But yeah, no. The theory is that that C-Day actually did that murder because there was a theory about the outfit that the person had been seen in that murder committing, wearing red pants. He was known for wearing red pants. But the thing is, the cops basically pulled over the minivan that was used in the murder, like I think a couple of days before. They got the VIN number and they were able to tie D-Rose to the crime, even though people say that he didn't do it. But again, D-Rose was, as far as I'm concerned, he was killing people. You know, I'm not saying that it's right that he went down for the wrong thing. But again, this is another scenario where that non-snitching thing comes to get you, right? Because he could snitch and turn around and say, well, it wasn't me that did that. Well, he can't do that, right? Because they're so about the street code. Realistically, had he not gone down for that, he would have gone down for a different murder. So, and then, you know, C-Day went down for the murder of Javon Boyd, which was the cab driver that Rondo was also implicated in.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was a whole case where Tay Capone was also there, and there's been a whole bunch of back and forth over the years as to whether or not he told in that situation. But, you know, Rondo and C-Day and D-Rose were really the real factors in the street for 600, and, you know, they all wound up getting taken off the streets in a mixture of those crimes that went down.
Well, yeah, another person that got locked up was Just Blow, who was 18 years old and was a high school valedictorian. I guess he was involved in a robbery that turned into a fatal shooting. Which is crazy. You're the valedictorian, which means that you really have a bright future ahead of you. You know, I went to a top university and I was nowhere near a valedictorian. So if I was that, I mean, you could go to Harvard, you could go to University of Chicago. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could go to top schools. And now he is, what, doing life in prison? Close to it?
Like 18 years or something like
18
that, I think,
years.
maybe. But it's
You know,
interesting.
you're right. He's getting 18 years. 18 years in prison. So he's going to get out when he's 36.
That's not too bad in the grand scheme of things for Chicago, really. But no, that's still a massive waste of life. You know, those are your best years that you're losing
Well,
out
you're a
on.
valedictorian. You're not going to go back to college. You can't. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's a complete waste of life.
Well, I guess the sympathy that I have, or not even sympathy, but just the understanding that I have is it's like, you know, you can be the best kid, but if you start seeing your homies, your friends, your family get killed, you know, that probably changes something in you. And obviously a big story that we covered recently was, you know, the case of Lil Jeff, Q50, this sort of new young generation running around Chicago. And what's really interesting about those guys is they didn't seemingly really get involved in gangs until later in life. You know, we're talking like 18 years old or so, they're jumping off the porch. They weren't so violent until things really turned up with kind of like, you know, cousin getting killed, brother getting incarcerated, the, you know, shots and murders happening back and forth in the area. You know, you've got guys that would have been good kids getting sucked into the street stuff. And again, I don't want to condone it, but like, look, I've not had a close friend of mine be murdered. That's not happened to me. And I think if that did happen to me, you know, God forbid, maybe I'd be willing to throw away some of what I've got, or maybe I would just be so emotional that I would act on impulse. I don't know, you know, I don't think I'm a killer. I don't think I've got it in me to do something like that. But at the same time, it's hard for me to put myself in those shoes, because if you're coming up and you've got your best friend's been killed, maybe you're a valedictorian, but maybe that's going out the window when your emotions overcome you and you're really going through something like that. So, you know, it's kind of like, it's hard to relate, you know, and I think it's definitely tempting to sort of say, like, how dumb is it to kind of throw your life away? You had such a promising future, but maybe if you're in that situation, maybe you don't see it that way. It's more just a case of like, yo, fuck all that, we're sliding. This is where my attention's going right now. But it is very sad, man. I think there's just so much wasted potential in these scenarios. But there's so many cases in that 600 story that just sort of really break your heart. I mean, there's the situation with that guy Tricks, who got killed, and he was sort of like a young guy that had gotten involved with 600 and was kind of a driver for these guys to slide on people. And, you know, there was sort of a whole thing where he ended up getting killed, you know, rolling with those guys. And then they didn't want to claim him. They were making fun of him, saying he was a goofy after he died. And it just goes to show you how treacherous this stuff can get, where you got young guys, you know, maybe not all there mentally, getting taken advantage of, and then they just use you up as the driver, let you get killed, whatever, we don't even claim you. You know, that really showed to me how treacherous and messed up it gets. And then on the flip side, you've got situations like 600 Breezy, who, was one of the most successful rappers to come out of that area at a certain point, really had an opportunity to get on in the game, started hanging around with Drake, and was kind of getting involved with that whole team, was on stage when I think Drake collected his Billboard Music Award in 2017. And before you know it, 600 Breezy's getting sucked back into the streets. He's drug dealing again. He's not taking music seriously. All of this kind of stuff, and wasted potential is definitely a theme of that story and a lot of the guys that came out of there, and it is really tragic.